The trials of the ancestors are upon us. 3.22 is just around the corner, and with it a bunch of changes to the Atlas tree. We are going to take advantage of some of these changes to the Atlas tree. And for those who are wondering what those aforementioned changes are, if you have a keen eye, you may have noticed a lot of extra keystones, which allows for customization of the experience, but also a lot of things have shifted and shapes have changed, especially around the middle, for example. You might see a lot of different aspects. Now, mind you, the Atlas tree that I have designed here is specifically, as I stated, for my personal preference at the beginning of a league. It will be shifting significantly as we are entering maybe the end of week 1, early week 2. So don't expect this to be a tree that you're going to stick around with for a very long time unless you really enjoy it. It's not like it's not going to work. It's just I have other plans. But to start things off with, I am seeking out that map sustain. I'm seeking out the bubblegum currency, as well as league mechanics that I personally enjoy, so I don't suffer brain rot as I try to farm up my character. So we're going to go through it. We have not spec'd everything in. There's a good reason for that. You will find out as to why as we go through the Atlas tree. But other than that, I should be able to have a link below if you just want to kind of look around, or perhaps in the comments below you can leave a suggestion as to what I perhaps should league start. Should I do Hex Blast Mines or Rain of Arrows Champion? Crit based. Looked really good. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Either way, I like to start things off with a Strongbox notable. This will be unspec'd fairly early, like at the end of week 1, once I have established some level of usable currency. But in the early stages, this is nice bonus experience because of the extra mobs, and also gives us access to, perhaps if we're lucky, further in the Atlas tree, maybe 6 links and such, but also that bubblegum currency. Expedition is a trusty old choice for me, old faithful, if you will. The tune with the divine gambling, as well as, of course, the currency you can get from him, as well as Danny to facilitate that, the selling of log books, or even running them themselves, is very profitable and can be used to great extent in the early to mid stages of a league. Not so much the late stages, I personally find, but that is entirely bias on my end, perhaps. Now, because of this early stages, we won't have scarabs, we won't have any real means to consistently get certain aspects onto the maps, or any particular mechanics onto the maps, like Harvest, so we're trying to RNG into that. I don't personally like Harvest. I just have to take it because it's too strong for crafting, but also for money making if you want to sell the juice. But especially in the early stages, being able to switch resistances up, turning a fire into lightning, or simply being able to roll life on a pair of boots, for example, or even any other piece of gear, just to have something workable, is too powerful to not have. So we are taking all the basic Harvest notables. As a result of that, we are of course going to take the shaping of the mountains for that map sustain, as expected. More expedition nodes, ancient writing, and distinguished demolitionist. I might take extreme archaeology. The reason why I'm a little apprehensive about this, especially in the early stages of a league, is it's going to unlock all the mobs, which is good. It's going to speed things up, and it's going to buff them all, which is great. But what if one of those mods bricks your build? Essentially, you can't kill them. Maybe it's an immunity, maybe they're crit immune, curse immune, gods know what it may end up doing, and you can't kill them, so you've just wasted an entire expedition. So depending on how this feels, I may take it, or I may simply skip it until I'm strong enough. But it really depends on how this is going to feel, and since this is brand new, we don't know yet. This is also perhaps a good point, if you are not strong enough yet, to use those access points to maybe picking up some shrines. If you are indeed feeling a little too weak, I might personally do that. We are very close to these notables. We can also just pick up some more RNG chance if you don't, without wasting a point here. And on top of that, you can also simply rush the commissioned officer, which is probably what I will rush myself, just because I typically unspec this like 2-3 days in this particular notable, the commissioned officer. But it also gives us access to this little wheelwright here, as well as the new keystone, overloaded circuits. Not a big deal right now until we get into the circle above it, but this is going to be some new tech we are going to take advantage of to make money and facilitate our early game crafting. So we're picking up some more strong boxes here, secret operatives with tamper proof. The corruption will facilitate the chance of 6 links, and just any other good valuable gear with at least rare on it. It's a very solid choice for the early stages. If you can find something that's usable, great. If you find a 6 link that is not usable, unfortunate, but you can sell it. Easy money. And we pick up the circle. There's a shaping on top here now as well, shaping of the world, which is more map sustain. Pick it up. The harvest notable is there as well as the expedition notable. Make sure you take the outer ring for the chance, because we're trying to RNG into expedition, as we are not using the map device or the scarab. You know, we could even use maybe the 7th gate later, but that's not for league start. We're also picking up the backup cache for duplicating of currency, since we're so deep into strong boxes anyway, as well as Vault of Mysteries. I might also simply unspec this depending on how it feels. I'm not sure about it yet. I could also maybe spec into Concealed Logistics. I do have access points for map sustain, which might be fairly useful in the early stages. But who knows? We're going to see how that feels. But this is currently what I'm planning. And the reason why we have the essence nodes here and the amplified energies as the only option is because of the aforementioned keystones of overloaded circuits. Essences only have 4 notables in the map: amplified energies, crystal resonance, crystal lattice, and of course the downward prolific essence, or all the way at the bottom. So once we have a character strong enough to take juiced essences out, we will spec or start actively using overloaded circuits. At that point, we also have some chaos to pay for that, because the crafting option will increase 100%. I think it's a base 2 chaos. It will probably turn into 4 chaos if I understand it correctly. And then we will be able to get the benefit of all these essence notables without having to spec all the way to the left, because they made crystal lattices, which is pretty important for farming essences, all the way on the left here, which is a little rough. So that is something to consider. Otherwise, you can just skip it altogether and not care too much about it. Maybe focus more on Fortune Favors the Brave, which is something I will be doing later after League Start is kind of over. Now, the additional points will also help with the choosing of the altar, because right now I went blue, but if you want to go red, you take the gateways and then you simply spec into that. Fairly straightforward, but of course it takes a few more points, because you have to add some travel points that otherwise are not necessary. And that's one of the big reasons we actually made sure we have some excess points there as well. Well, let's actually finish this up down here. There we go. Perfect. So we actually have 9 points left right now, and we switched to red, which is pretty good, because this means we can maybe start blocking some content. I like blocking, since we are trying to RNG into other content like Harvest and Expedition. Blocking is always good. 3 points left. Maybe this is a good time to maybe pick up some shrines, or perhaps go down here and start setting up maybe some harvest currency farming. Who knows? But if you are Expedition as well, before I forget, make sure to pick up also Scratching Up the Crown for Tujin. It's too powerful. And then either Danny or Rog, if you're feeling particularly frisky for that tri-elemental bow crafting maybe, or maybe some early game boots. Spell suppression, anybody? Who knows? We get 3 points left though. I'm not entirely sure where to put them. It might end up being something like Extreme Archaeology after all. And maybe we'll pick up maybe some minor notes for not for the better range here, but maybe for some additional artifacts if I'm farming Expedition hard. Maybe I'll try to optimize for supplication. I can maybe even do some pact with energy tech if I'm feeling particularly weak. But other than that, Stream of Consciousness is just a pretty good option. And quite frankly, because we are RNGing into everything, it is mandatory, which ultimately shows you that we exactly have 132 points selected. So that's kind of my plan. That's kind of what my thinking was. Now I am planning, like I said, either a rain of arrows or maybe a hex blast, pyroclast kind of character. So I should be able to do decent clear. There's no real bossing happening here, so I might be able to get my 2 void stones. The other void stones might be problematic. I am going to be playing trades, so maybe I should buy a boost, or maybe I should find a little bit more gear so I can do it myself, which shouldn't be too problematic with a tree like this. especially since I have a lot of focus on crafting and sustain. So I should be able to make some decent currency, either buy some usable pieces and just crush them, or perhaps craft my own gear, which shouldn't be too problematic. I have faith in myself. So here it is, 132 points of awesome league start potential. Hopefully this inspires you as well. Go forth. Good luck tomorrow evening. And let me know what you guys are starting in the comments below. I am still looking for inspiration. Perhaps you will sway me from the path of the miner. Who knows? Have a good evening. Good luck once again, and I'll see you guys on the Atlas. I'm out.